Well, first of all, thanks for taking some time to do an interview with me. I like to sort of see your side of the story because I feel like as a fan, as a producer, as a viewer, sometimes we get so caught up in what we imagine we're seeing, and sometimes we don't know your perspective on it. So, anywho, I just a couple general questions, and I've got a few that I've screenshotted from what the fans would like to know about.
All right.
So, how you feeling today?
I feel great.
Yeah, good. How long have you been modeling?
Oh, not consistently. I don't do it professionally. But I first took a gig probably 2.5 years ago, something like that. I found some opportunities to make some cash on the side, and I found it was fun. I enjoyed it, and it pays surprisingly well. So, when you meet good people, and as long as you're careful with the people that you work with, it's a lucrative side gig.
Gotcha. Besides money, what drew you to it, and what did you find especially enjoyable about it?
I probably speak for a lot of women in saying it feels nice to be admired. By all means, in my professional world, I like people admiring me for my intellect and my, competence in other things. But, if you happen to have a body that people are willing to pay money for, can't say no to it. I don't know, that feels really awkward to say. But, I answered an ad for someone looking for a leg model. And
Gee,
I'm like,
who could that have been?
I'm like, I got good legs, sure, why not? Someone's willing to pay me to videotape my legs, and it turns out to be fun. And, especially then when you bond with the producers and you find, especially if it's like some niche market like these videos tend to be, it's a opportunity to get to know people that I might not otherwise have met, and it's usually really fun.
Gotcha. Well, had you heard of Vore before you and I got in touch?
No, it's totally new to me.
What did you think of it when you started to feel like you understood what it was about?
I thought it was very silly. I can't knock it. I have friends with, fetishes across the spectrum, and I have my own things that are maybe silly that I'm into, but Vore was new to me, and I watched some of the sample material that my producer showed me to get me at the idea of what I was going to be doing, and I thought, this is so silly. But I've got good legs, so sure, why not? But it was fun.
Did it feel like a bait and switch? Because I know that usually when I'm canvassing for new models, I do ask about leg models. I don't usually come right out with Vore until I feel like the person is open-minded. And then I say, well, here's what it's really about. It's in that vein, but it's not quite leg modeling only. So did it feel like a bait and switch, or did it feel like a natural extension?
No, I felt like that was a reasonable way to approach the subject. I've seen the final products, and most of where the camera focuses is on legs and feet, and I totally thought that this was going to be a little bit more risque originally at first, and really that I understand what your fans are looking for and what people really seem to like about it. Leg model's pretty accurate.
How did it feel seeing yourself? Because I know at this point in time, Movie 26 is my most viewed film. It's close to 60,000 views.
Wow.
And it's only been up, as of this recording, about 5 months.
Wow.
So how did you feel seeing the finished video and then realizing it got a pretty strong response?
Well, I know it was a very different plot line than most of the other videos, and by the time we filmed that one, I'd gotten to know you pretty well. I'd gotten somewhat familiar with a lot of your material, and I thought it was really fun to, be the one with the honor of bringing back the plant. And, again, I can see how, for a lot of people it's maybe not the risque kind of fetish, but I mean the aspect of it where it is kind of a turn on. And I know that most of the fans are male, but I thought it'd be really cool to have like a female who is into it. And having spent enough time with you and with your work, I think I at least get it. Even if it's not my thing, I at least get it. And so I had a lot of fun making that film. Knowing that it's one of the most viewed, I don't know if that's because it is different or because it's the big, comeback of the plant, if that's the appeal of it. Or maybe it is because, oh my God, not only is a woman, being the victim of the Vore, but she's actually into it. That's so hot. And I can hope that maybe there's some of all of that in there. I feel honored to have had that responsibility.
Gotcha. That kind of touches on a subject that I've been curious about. Your scene in 26 and the romantic dinner scene, as to date, are the only two what some fans call it consensual Vore scene, where the actress's character rather is deliberately, willfully subjecting themselves to the monster. Every other scene I've ever done, and most other scenes out there, are non-consensual. And I've had, obviously it didn't stop them from working with me, but a couple of actresses I've worked with have commented that it's a little violent against women. Have you ever thought that or felt that way?
I mean, it is. I prefer creating, if we're going to be making sexual art, I prefer creating art that empowers people. I mean, and again, there is an argument to be made that if you put the content out there that makes it seem like it's okay to have some kind of violent sexual fantasy, then that encourages people to go out and do violent sexual things, and maybe that's true, in which case that's not a really good thing.
Don't try this at home, boys and girls.
Don't try this, all right. But or maybe if somebody has that fantasy and they're able to watch it online, then it prevents them from going out and doing something on their own, and I really don't know which way that goes. But I personally prefer making the kind of movies where, either it was consensual or, it was a struggle and it was well earned and maybe I lost, but I fought really hard. I don't know. The appeal of the Vore itself is someone getting eaten, and that kind of follows like a food chain. Humans naturally are the top of the food chain, so we don't get eaten very often. And that kind of has its own thing that makes it different. But yeah, some of the scenes that I've seen that are like especially violent, that are just like, okay, someone just gets like murdered and then eaten, or murdered and then fed to a monster, or just happens to stumble upon, I don't know. I haven't gotten the sense that your work is something that you want to make particularly political, so I don't expect you to necessarily go there. I'm really glad that you do have some films that do seem to empower the women more, like even in the final Vore movie, where your victim ultimately is still eaten, but she kills the plant successfully in her endeavor. They're not all degrading to women, even if the appeal of the Vore still becomes an element of it.
Gotcha.